You gamers ready to game? My camera feels weird and I don't know why. Whatever. Except we're not gaming today. We're doing something cooler than gaming. So much cooler than gaming. Gaming's for bitches. I'm just kidding. We're doing Magic System. It's exactly what we're doing. It's exactly what we're doing. Wait, hold on. I need to fart. Okay. All right. So here's this guy here. So here's how this is gonna go. We going old school or new school? New school. New school. Whatever. Based off of what I think you mean by old school or new school, probably new school. Cringe? What do you mean? Define old school and new school. But while you do that, what we're going to do is that we are going to go into a random word generator and we're going to use the word that it gives us. And we're going to either base a magic system around that word or we're going to use that word as like a starting point. If that makes sense. Music down a little bit. So we're going to do that. Okay. I did this the other day for like practice and I underestimated the type of words that I was getting. So we're going to get 5 rerolls. Okay. We have 5 rerolls. And if we don't have, if we don't get anything on the 5th reroll, then spadoosh. We're going to have to deal with it. Okay. We're going to have to be super creative and figure something out. Okay. Old school is like magic with runes, scrolls, and basically formula embedded on the staff or any other equipment. New school is epi fire. Boom, fireball. No, neither of those. We're doing neither of those. Okay. All right, guys, I got a huge idea. These people eat like metallic substances, right? Then they get powers from what they consume. That is new school, okay? New school is way more hard magic. Okay, that's new school, right? Just completely out the wazoo, right? Like I would count the one I showed on stream like a month or 2 ago. That's new school. If you don't know what that is, basically like you can copy a attribute of an inanimate object onto yourself, or you can project an attribute of yourself onto an inanimate object. And that's basically kind of like as far as it goes, that specific thing. Or there's this another other one where basically it was like where what it really boils down to is if like you take a mental image, then you draw that mental image, and then whatever you drew comes to life. But it has to be like a real picture of a real thing, right? It can poof into existence. So I think of like creative things like that aren't like wizarding and shit like that. Yeah, I mean that is kind of like wizarding, but you know what I mean? Not like traditional. We're going for an untraditional magic system. I don't know what it's gonna be yet, but we'll figure it out. Can it be my PP? Yes, if you want. How old are you? Calotrem, Maxer, Trash, welcome. Welcome. You guys ready to freaking do this? Oh, is my camera too bright? How my camera looks drastically depends on what I'm wearing. It's a Neo-Gen magic system. Frick. No, it's just that your skin is radiant. Trem's always like complimenting me, and I don't want them to ever stop. Okay, yeah. The key is we have to get it like a. The key is we just hope we're okay. Just got to get a good word. Just got to get a good word. It's a good thing it's not like those Manhwa magic systems where your magic attributes get stronger the more mana stone you eat or absorb. That shit's boring. Frick that. Complimenting you until I shit on you. What does that mean? What does that mean? Mana's a huge egg? Oh, 100%. If I see the word mana, aura, bad, then I know what you're thinking. But I thought you read a lot of like those trash isekai. Listen. But I know it's bad when I consume it, and I don't care. Okay? That's the thing. Like in a manga or manhwa form, I don't really care. But if it's in like a book, I can't do it. Can't do it. Not happening. Wait, so what's our power source? We're going to find out. We know nothing, okay? In case you're new, in case you just got here, Tremothy, we're going to take a random word generator. We're going to base a magic system around the word that it gives us. Okay? Either it's going to be based around it or we're going to use it as a starting point. Okay? It's going to be hard magic. So rules, limitations. We don't want it to be OP as balls. We want it to be... That's what I'm looking for. Lit. That's not the word. That's not the word. Okay? And so I did this the other day. I did this with umbrellas. The word I rolled was umbrellas. And so I did like it was like very general. We're not going to go into the same detail. We're going to go into way more detail than what I did the other day. But I rolled umbrella. So what I did was it was essentially like, frick, what did I do? I'm trying to remember. So there are umbrellas made out of certain materials, right? Like I used like, I think I went with like monster materials. It was very rough, very general. I did it in like 20 minutes, right? And then when depending on the material your umbrella is made out of, when you open it up, right? A sort of like veil comes down, right? And when you're in that veil, depending on what material is used, it stops the increasage of something, if that makes sense. I'll explain, okay? So if you use, I don't know, material A, right? It stops the increasage of heat. So you can't you're going to stay as hot as you are now, right? No matter how hot it gets outside, your body temperature will not rise, right? It stays. Or if you make it out of this other umbrella, right? Make it out of this other material, right? Then, and you're within that veil, then it'll like stop the increasage of sadness, right? So I use an example. I was like, sometimes you'll see people with the sadness umbrella at like a funeral because they're too afraid to confront their own feelings, right? Of pain and loss. So they're trying not to get any more sad at a funeral with the sadness umbrella. You know what I mean? And then the one I use for the heat, I'm like explaining, like, so I did this whole exercise like a month or two ago, and the random word I pulled was umbrella, right? And so one of the cheesiest things I've ever heard, the sadness one. Well, I mean, it's gonna be very like the whole society, like the story that takes place in the society it's a society of people who are too afraid to confront discomfort. You know what I mean? It's a whole society of people who, like, you know what I mean? They don't want to experience heat, like they don't want to feel hot, they don't want to feel cold, they don't want to feel sad, right? They are so afraid of discomfort, and because of this like magic system, I guess this tools can be a magic system. Because of this, they live their lives as comfortable as possible, right? And so the way I saw it is that like the character arcs would be the main characters discovering, you know, the growth and shit that comes with experiencing feelings that you don't want to feel. And so I did it in Umbrella because an umbrella, you know, when you open a regular umbrella, right, it stops the increasage of you getting wet, right? You don't get any more wet for the most part, right? And so I use that theme, but for everything, depending on the material that it is made out of, right? So under whatever a material the umbrella is, you can't, it blocks the increasage of something. Open the poverty umbrella. But yeah, so I did this, I came up with this in like 20, 30 minutes, something like that. And so I don't even know where I have it written down. It's written down somewhere. I don't know where though. So it's like a more mundane magic then. Yeah, so I also use that as an example, is that like we can also go that route. You know what I mean? We don't have to go like you know, what your brain automatically goes to when you think of magic, right? There are like, magic can mean a bunch of, like a frick ton of shit, right? We don't gotta make it super fantasy. Yeah, we don't. High fantasy. Yeah, we can, and I'm down to, but we don't have to. You know what I mean? And the thing is, like, we don't have to be super focused on like why something happens, right? Because the why can always be explained later, right? You know what I mean? Like, why an umbrella? It could be literally any other shape besides an umbrella, right? So why an umbrella? And so I was like, don't worry about that, right? I just did umbrella because that was the word. But then if I want to go back later and like explain why, I can be like, some god used an umbrella or something like that. And then everybody's like, oh my god, look, it's an umbrella used by this god. Now umbrellas are like super sacred and holy or something, like, you know what I mean? So like you can always explain it and make the why and the how make sense later, if that makes sense. We don't have to do it necessarily right now while we're building the magic system, if that makes sense. So it's kind of hard to digest magic without the source being defined. That is true. That is true. But like I said, it just came up with it very quickly. So I didn't go into like, I didn't like explore it all that much. But I might do it later because I feel like once I realized that I can make a story about people confronting uncomfortable feelings, I'm like, this is very interesting. Like, I could totally do this. I could totally use that. Okay. Are you guys ready? We're going to go to the random word generator, okay? We're going to go to the random word generator. I don't even have it pulled up yet. I definitely should, but I don't. It's taking way longer than it should. All right, sounds good, Theo. Enjoy your dinner. All right. Shit, I did not mean to do that. Time to see how screwed we are, or time to see how screwed we are, okay? Great. If we get great, that'd be so unlucky. That'd be the definition of unlucky. I'll start moving around like the chats and stuff like that later. I'll deal with this later. We're probably gonna do this in a Google Doc, so I'll have room for the chats and stuff in a Google Doc or something. Okay, frick, that's the way. Okay, here we go. There. 2 chats. All right, here we go. Number of words, 1. Word type, all. Here we go. First word. Hold on, give me a second. I feel like I might need to have like a Google Doc open. Should have one already. Okay. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. Random word. Give us something good. We already have a banger on the first word. I can literally feel it. Distributor. Oh, that almost feels like an easy one. Damn, did we just get this handed to us on a silver platter, bro? On a silver freaking platter. Distributor, huh? Drugs. You know what? Drug-based magic system? I feel like that's not exactly new though, you know what I mean? RWG folded for you. All right, do you guys just want to go work on this one word, or do you want to roll 4 other times and see what other words we get? And see if we find a word that we think was more that we might like. Four more. Let's see what RNG cooks. Okay. All right, create random word. Tycoon. Wait, this seems like a lit word. Oh my god. I have no idea what we could possibly do with Tycoon, but I feel like whatever it is could be so lit. Tycoon, what a freaking word, dude. Yo, that's dope. I'm down for Tycoon. All right, let's see what else we got. Here we go. Next word. Merchant. We got merchant for word 3. Okay. Merchant's interesting. Capitalism freaking magic system. You know what we could do? We could also RWG's definitely folding. No, 100%. RWG's literally trying to suck my dick right now. It's absolutely insane. All right. Word 4. Margin. That's an interesting one. Interesting. So far, the words that are standing out to me, I think margin's the one that stands out to me the most. I feel like this one we could get really creative with that one. Okay. Margin also seems like the toughest challenge. All right, word 4. Scream Tycoon and the Mirth Merchant. Why is every word you draw related to capitalism? That's because money is drawn to me. That's not true. Here we go. Can we use multiple in one system? I feel like a distributor and merchant could kind of work together. You know what? Let's do this last roll first, and then we can decide if we either want to use these words, all of these words as inspiration, or just pick one. Absorb. Oh my god, dude. That one almost feels too easy. I don't know if this one feels almost too easy. This one almost feels too. Oh shit. Rigged. I feel like this one wouldn't be fun. The RNG is nuts. Bro, pre-learned the words. No, it didn't. I bet this next word's gonna suck. Impress. That would have been an interesting one. All right. All right, so these are our words. Absorb same energy as margin to me. Better off being a branch than an entire system. Absorb is already a pretty common pro tag trope. Yeah, that's why I'm not. That's why absorb is one I'm not leaning towards. Merchant can be fun. I agree. Tycoon. Distributor, tycoon, merchant, margin. Yeah, these are weird, isn't it? Uh, uh. Multiple definitions. A limit, edge, blank space around the edges of a sheet of paper. I like the varying definitions of margin here. I like the varying definitions of margin. God. I like distributor personally. Similar to merchant, but it carries a bit of a more dangerous tone. I do agree with that. All right, sounds good, Theo. I think you're cooking with margin. You know what was really intriguing me? This definition right here. The blank space around the edges of a sheet of paper, such as the page of a book. Oh, can you see that? Can't see that. I feel like I have no idea how this could be a magic system yet. But this one, like, imagine making a magic system like from this definition. You imagine like what could like it'd be very unique, that's for sure. Distributor. You can like distribute parts of yourself. You can distribute your memories. You can distribute what? Blank space feels like you draw magic or magic circles into it now. It does. So the margin is like the margin on a piece of paper is leftover space, right? This area right here. Leftover space. Leftover space. Leftover space. Blank space can also correlate to word magic, like that guy from BSD that writes a poem and stuff. Who? Leftover space. If I say the word leftover space, but not in terms of like paper, like leftover space in this specific context, what do you interpret when I say leftover space? Like what is that? What is that? Like what do you think of when I say that? I was thinking we'd take blank space and start cooking with literal blank space in the world. Literal blank space in the world. Like space is not physically obstructed. You guys know how in an atom, right? The model of an atom, it shows that the protons and neutrons and electrons are all like relatively close together, right? But in reality, there's like a frick ton of space, empty space between the protons and neutrons and then the electrons, right? A frick ton of empty space in there, right? I think it was something along the lines of like, if you were to remove all the empty space in atoms, that all humans could fit into like a sugar cube or something like super freaking tiny, right? So what if we did something with that? You know, the empty space in atoms. We like put something there or deleted it, or I don't know. That's just like that's my starting point. I'm just like spouting shit. Thoughts? Messing with that with the empty space in an atom. What do you guys think of that? So people can manipulate the space between particles. Maybe. Potentially. It's just an idea that I'm throwing out. I was thinking something like edit magic, where the user like writes the story of someone, like in JoJo's Heaven's Gate. Heaven's Gate? Heaven's Door? That's interesting too. Like, I was thinking magic is like a sheet of paper kind of margin. Heaven's Door, yeah. Like, so say there's like a book of somebody's life or something like that, right? And then you add something in the margin, like a footnote or just like a drawing, I don't know, like a little note, little scribble or something that effectively changes something about the book. Something like that. I see. But I feel like that'd be hard to do. If we went that route, I feel like we'd be dangerously close to copying Heaven's Door. You know what I mean? I'm trying to figure out how to do that while being different from Heaven's Door. What if they can't write it in themselves? That is true. Interesting. Right. But then we'd have to establish the supernatural book in the first place. You know what I mean? Makes me think of this one scene, I think in Supernatural, where Death had a library of every person's life as a book. Okay. So do we want this magic system to be like cosmic level? You know, like on a level of like beings, or like cosmic beings, or like, you know, very supernatural beings? Or do we want this to be on like an everyday person kind of shit? You know what I mean? How about once the magic is instilled into someone, the book would make a blank version of that someone in which we can write or edit the level or characteristics of the guy we hit. So magic instilled into someone. Everything's preordained, but the MC's got a true blank book. Kind of destiny. Huh. Nobody can write their destiny except for this one guy. The Death Note. Let's go back. Is this reverse Death Note? I think we're leaning towards margin as the word being used, but like how we go about the word. Like what specifically about the word. I think we're leaning towards blank space as the idea of blank space as our starting point. My idea was how in an atom there is actually a lot more space between the protons and the neutrons, between the proton, neutrons, and electrons. Like there's like a frick ton of space in between, instead of like how we normally think of an atom, which is, everything's like relatively close together. So there's a lot of like empty space here. And so I see that as like leftover space. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like how I view the margin is leftover. Right? And so you can fiddle with that leftover space that's not really used in an atom. So that was like where I was going with it. I think chat was going more like Heaven's Door from JoJo's, where chemistry, yeah. They were going more for like, if there is like a book that has like your whole life story in it, then you can go and like write something in the margins of the book and make an edit to somebody's life. But it felt a little too it felt a little too similar to something that already exists. You know? And that would be interesting, because if you made an edit in somebody's life, would that mean that like every other book, like it just spirals, doesn't it? It just spirals. You make one edit in one person's life, then that changes somebody else's book, which in turn changes somebody else's book and somebody else's book and somebody else's book, and then it just keeps going on infinitely. You're rewriting reality, are you not? I don't know. That seems a little hard to play with, guys. I sound like something would be interesting on like an ethereal level. Is that a Breaking Bad reference that I don't get? When I think margins, I think parts. What do you mean? Explain on that a little bit more. Can I just say, there's an anime where visualizing a concept wills it as magic, and the MC uses science to power up the magic spells. Add oxygen to hydrogen flame after impact, and it makes it nuclear. That's too soft magic. It's always like, especially like isekai freaking magic. You're just like, they just pull anything out of their ass. Is literally freaking insane. So does like Luffy with his devil fruit. Hockey's hard magic. That was a good joke I hated here. I haven't seen Breaking Bad. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm curious to hear what Eeps is trying to say. But what do you guys think about my idea? Lord Heisenberg, Master of the Tower. The whole thing is called Master of the Tower? We have different types, so some people can make the space bigger or smaller. Justin, thank you for the follow on Twitch. chemistry magic? Am I gonna have to be a console? Okay, so I'll explain this. I'm down to explain this as many times as you guys want. So blank space, right? I interpret like a margin as almost like leftover space, right? Leftover space, like, right? And so, I was going for in an atom, right? The space between the neutrons and the protons and the electrons is like a lot, right? A lot more than like the average person thinks, right? Like a frick ton. Because I think the protons and neutrons are like small as shit, or the electrons are small as shit. I don't know the specifics, right? Am I correct? Our resident chemistry warrior is massive, yes. So I was like interpreting that as like leftover space, kind of like a margin leftover space, right? And so I was like, what if we could like do something in it or with that leftover space? You know what I mean? We have different types. So like some people can make the space bigger or smaller. Oh, so you can like enlarge yourself maybe? Maybe? Or make yourself smaller? Maybe? How about for margin magic? We can cast any magic as long as there's a space or blank space nearby. For example, if Nick and I are like 1 foot apart, I can cast the fireball towards him. But the limitation is since we're too close to the fireball, would be too weak. More blank space equals stronger. So basically just the farther away you are, the more effective your shit's gonna be on your target. That seems a little soft. It does seem a little soft. Because the only thing you're really determining is that the only thing you determine using the definition is that the farther away your magic travels, the more powerful it is. Not necessarily the magic itself, if that makes sense. What if we just go to Satoru and put a margin between the MC and any magic damage? Just leftover space that you just can't enter. Eepster, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the manipulation of space between particles? Right? I think. Maybe some people can like move things through the space. Move things through it. What do you mean by that? Amount allowed? You know, this reminds me of this one book that I read. And the magic system in this book, it was basically like how, you know how when you translate words, I guess, or phrases or something, even if you try to translate, say, even if you were to directly translate something, sometimes there is lost meaning, right? And so there's sometimes there's no way to one for one translate a word, right? And so in this magic system, you took like this iron bar or bronze bar, or gold bar, or something like that, right? You wrote one word on one side, and then you wrote the direct translation on the other side into a different language. And then the meaning that was lost, right? The meaning that was lost, let's say you have word A and you translate word B, but but with word A, right? There's also a sort of, it also kind of means cold, for example, right? But there's no word that directly brings across the original the first part of the definition of the word and the cold part, right? And so when you write them both onto the bar, the cold gets lost in translation. And so when this happens, it turns the room cold, right? It turns the room cold, it turns the bar cold, and so it's used kind of like as an air conditioner sort of in people's houses, right? And so there's this whole thing, I think it takes place in Oxford? At Oxford, I think. So there's this whole like fake school of Oxford, right? Where their entire job is to work on these translations to find lost meaning so they can inscribe them onto these bars and have that effect, if that makes sense. Which I think was like probably one of the most unique things I've ever read in my entire life. Are you talking about heat condensers? Would that be it? Or we're talking about the space, the fiddling of space between. That was talking right now about something completely different. But like, anyways, well, first of all, the translation thing. It was like I saw that as maybe like margin of error, maybe. I don't know. Let me read those definitions. Changing the space between particles further wouldn't do much. So if you like shrunk the space and put the neutrons and protons closer to the electrons, what would happen? Nothing? It's just empty. There's nothing there. Could you use it for something? If the magic is based on the distance between subatomic particles, it could be something like moving up an energy level like an electron valence shell. Moving up an energy level like an electron valence shell. Could add more protons and neutrons to fill it. Completely change the element. So like Nisimono fake / imitation and how it breaks down from fake thing to just imitation, implying there was an original, but Nisimono can mean something that wasn't there to begin with. Yes. Yes. Can make it an ion instead. Huh. That's getting into alchemy territory, but I guess alchemy is basically a type of magic. It is. So there's like a frick ton of space in between here, way more than this looks. He's too busy gaming. So there's like way more space here. I mean, we can. If you guys have an interesting idea for, any of these other words, I'm going with margin because this one is like interesting me. Leftover space you can't enter. Story magic. It would at best destabilize the atom and cause fission. Fission, huh? So a bomb? I'm stealing Tycoon and Merchant. Okay. Nuclear fission? Fission sounds like the worst case scenario, not the best. So if we brought them closer together, it rips part of the atom apart, or farther away, then it's a bomb. There's more electrical potential in higher valence shells. So if you could freely move electrons, you could cause atoms to gain energy enough to cause a fission explosion, or just boil water at will. Okay. I feel like margin magic is complex if you're not talking about books or empty pages. We're kind of like, margin is like just like it can either be based around it or it can be like a starting point for something we develop. You know what I mean? The Magic Tycoon offers to his merchants grimoires, which they can distribute to the masses. Each grimoire has a name on it. Gonna use that? Go for it. Go for it. That's how he makes money. He's the goat like that. Okay, so before we continue, are we settled on margin, or do you guys want to explore a different word? I'm settled, but thinking is hard. You like margin? I'm going with margin because it's a fun word to explore its depth and boundary. Exactly. That's why I really like margin as well. Story magic is pretty cool though. Story magic is cool, but at the same time, story magic is really hard to turn into a hard magic system. You know what I mean? Because like in a hard magic system, it's really like you really define what it can do and define its limitations. You know what I mean? And it's very hard magic systems are like pretty specific, right? And so I feel like we can explore it. I'm down. I'm not saying I'm against exploring it, but like it feels definitely much more challenging to deal with that, to mess with that, and have it be a hard magic system. You know what I mean? And so that's just I guess one route of leftover space, I guess. Do you guys have any other ideas when you think of the word leftover space, or what's the specific thing that they use? Blank space. Blank space. I feel like blank space. blank space is difficult. You know what I mean? Because I feel like there's no true blank space because there's always something in that space, right? Oxygen, blah, 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 blah. You know, whatever else is in the air. You know, even if you go into the vacuum of space, there are still like particles that pop in and out of existence. In and out of reality. I was reading about that the other day. It was actually very interesting to read about. The particles between space. Oh yeah, we can. Oh yeah, true. We can do that. I feel like that's the only like true void. Unless you interpret air as being blank, from the human perspective, it is. That is true. We could interpret it like that. Blank spaces, Tay-Tay's unique magic. We don't touch that domain. You imagine what freaking Taylor Swift's domain expansion would be? Domain expansion. What's her what's that album? Red? Red. Just blood everywhere. Infinite domain expansion, blank space. And she just creates a freaking void. That'd be insane. I feel like if we don't go with what Trem said, this is going to be hard. When you're loose with the definition, like you are, I think it contains a lot of potential. This is hard because I feel like it's hard to narrow down like what this is a hard word to make. This is a hard magic system out of. But that's why it's fun. You know what I mean? Can blank space be like memory magic? Interesting. That is interesting. Your options are almost limitless? True. Memory magic, huh? All right, everybody in chat, ponder on that. Ponder on blank space and memory. We either use blank space as air or as space between particles. And space between particles is way too complex for me, at least. That gets into an area that we might not be too equipped to handle at the moment. That turns into quantum magic quickly? It does. I mean, if we did that, if we went that route, it would essentially just be like bombs. Wouldn't it? Or like mini bombs or big bombs. You know what I mean? Kind of. Even if you increase I feel like there's going to be a bomb either way if you decrease the space between particles and increase it. What about vacuums, like Eve said? That's interesting. Would you be able to, like, depending on how much blank space there is, could you push galaxies further away from us? Or not, but you know what I mean by push. Okay, I need to be writing shit down. That's what I need to be doing. Okay, so ideas we have story magic. We have fiddling with space, with empty space between subatomic particles. Potentially. Why's my caps lock on? Turn off. Memory. I don't like adding magic after things. I don't like it. I don't like when the word magic is like a part of the magic system. You know what I mean? Like in the vocabulary and the name, you know what I mean? Am I bad at conveying that? Fiddling with memories. Memory manipulation. I don't like the word manipulation either. But manipulation's a thing. Frick it, we'll do it. Story manipulation. You don't need to push. The galaxies are avoiding us already, and they only grow further apart. That is true. But you could like exacerbate it. You know what I mean? Couldn't the empty space thing be by extension a manipulation of dark matter? I guess, yeah. No, I think you're right. How do you disable the live reactions? What? Live reactions. Dark energy? Would it be both though? Being able to mess with memory and cognition, you can make all magic basically illusory. Yet all of it would feel real to the user or receiver. Basically manipulate what they saw in the past. Like, say you're here and you're staring at someone. And 5 minutes goes by. But you go back and you manipulate their memory. And so they believe that you were like talking to them the entire time, but you never were. My head, if we go as like memory magic, we can use the game saves data system for the magic, but I don't know how we can save the magic in memory. What's up, Luke? What if for any given object, you could pull up its book that contains all its statistics / properties that you can scribble in the margins of the book to alter the object itself? Interesting. That reminds me of like soul casting from Stormlight. I'll write that down. I mean, that's kind of fabled recreation right here. You know what I mean? Could probably put that under fabled recreation. I think that's what we were originally thinking when we thought of this. Dark energy is the running theory of force behind the accelerating rate of the expansion of the universe. So we could, so, you know, in this fantasy world, right? Because we're making this up, right? It's obviously not real, so it doesn't have to be like, it doesn't have to be realistic, right? But could we say that messing with the ability to mess with the space between subatomic particles is dark energy? No. Is the usage of dark energies. Fabled recreation can absolutely be OP as balls. It would just be an application of that, I see. Where were you last night? Cast 5th level memory spell in bed like a good boy. My mind did not go to something wholesome when I read that. Slept for that 6 hours after a long 6-hour late night gaming sesh. That would just be an application of that, but on atomic scale. So, what do you guys think would be like practical uses for like so say the space gets shrunk or expands. I think are we agreeing that either way it's going to be a boom, right? Either way a boom of some sort, right? Depending on the, you know, how many like atoms you do this to and you destabilize. I think so far I think we need to establish what it does and then establish practical use for it. I think you could get creative with it. You could also erase space. True. If we chose to go the route of defining that blank space is just like there's no matter in a solid state that's in the way, that's in there. Maybe? It can also come down to how we define what blank space is. You can just expand the scale to apply to things that aren't atomic. Give me some examples. Making booms can be a part of it, but I wouldn't limit it to that. Yeah, I feel like there's something more there that there could be. Having hydrogen collide with oxygen with shrinking to form water. Removing energy to create ice. Kind of creativeness or something along those lines. This might go off the prompt a bit, but you can manipulate the blank space as a way to rearrange protons/neutrons. Then basically have fancy alchemy. See, that could go hard magic, but it would take a long freaking time to do so. What's going on here? Exactly as the title says. Right now, we're trying to figure out which... I think we've settled on the idea that we want to go with the definition of margin that is blank space. But how and what specifically does blank space mean in terms of like where we want to go with it is still being decided upon. I'm thinking space manipulation, so you can create or destroy space. My only thing with fabled recreation is that it would be hard to limit. No, it would. I think so. Although, who said that earlier? I think it was Luke. I think Luke's version of fabled manipulation, or fabled recreation, where you could do it with objects, maybe, and not people. Right? You can open the statistics of open the stats of an object, and make a note. Make a note in the margins and change something about an inanimate object. You know what I mean? That really piqued my interest. Rewriting the properties of an object. You know what I mean? You know what subspace magic is? This would be a form of that on a large scale. The door cannot be opened. Locks the door. Yeah. The thing about that, yeah, I see what you mean, Hipster. Like, it's hard to like. I feel like the more bigger scale we go, the more difficult it's going to be to make this a hard magic system. You know what I'm saying? Rewriting the properties of an object that will be pretty awesome and brings about a lot of cool story ideas. That one's staying with me in my head. Even if we don't use it here, I could see myself using that later. Exactly, Kyle. That'd be. There'd have to be some limits. That's too OP. Rewriting effect that makes some fun battles. We would have to limit that. We'd have to add some heavy limitations. Heavy limitations. Atom physics. I feel like with the when we're getting into physics, I feel like we're going. I mean, it was my idea, so I'll take fault for this. I feel like we opened a door, a very deep door that I think I'm personally not equipped to handle. A door, and the hallway is just really freaking long. How could you possibly limit it enough, though? Even if it's just on objects, fabled recreation is just too soft. That is true. It is very soft. To me, the limit would be time. Like, I picture it that you can access this library in your mind that has data on everything in the world, and you can pre-program things at will. Add a retcon power, but the more you use it, the more the plot crumbles. The cost of rewriting could work like sympathetic magic in The Name of the Wind. I have not read The Name of the Wind, and I'm probably not going to unless the author writes that third book. So please tell me. Give me like the rundown of what the cost would be. What the cost is in The Name of the Wind. The more words written, the harder it is to write. How about the farther away that the object changes from its original self, right? Then the more something it takes, or the more This is hurting my brain. The more you could have a limited amount of reality ink, so you're forced to erase old edits to make new ones. Luke's cooking, bro. Luke's freaking cooking. What's up, Rogue? More mana it takes. Don't listen. We're never gonna use the word mana. Don't say the word mana in this chat. Luke's all got cooking and Trent ruined it. What is the idea behind Fable Recreation? Okay, so Luke had this idea where you can access the properties and stats of an object, and it comes out in the form of a book. And then you can write something in that margin and change the object. Although, I think that we're probably better off having this be a manipulation. I hate that word. A manipulation of inanimate objects. What do you guys think? I feel like if we're going to do this, inanimate objects is the way to do it. I feel like once you start manipulating with a person, then we're just going down. That just opens a world of soft, and we need hard. To me, I picture it like programming. You can change anything in any way you want using your words, but you might tear the fabric of reality if you write bad code. Interesting. Fable the Recreation is the name that Trash came up with. That sounds cool. Could also have a defined encyclopedia of the world where there's only certain adjectives you can apply to things. Oh, so like only... Okay. Frick. Okay, so like only... Okay, so there are like researchers who like research this, right? And they've only found certain things that work, certain phrases or certain... There's a group of people, right? And they're always testing new phrases and new things to add into margin to change things. And not all of them work, right? So only like... There were only a certain list of things that work. But then what defines what works and what doesn't work? Luke is the GOAT. I agree. Luke is the GOAT. Luke out here with a hard carry, low key. Luke is cooking for real. That is so good with the encyclopedia. Dude. Luke, you do this for a freaking living? What it looks like Brandon Sanders or something. In disguise. Undercover. Magic police have magic seals that they edit onto people to prevent magic usage in their presence. Okay. Interesting. So that lets it be hard magic because we can still define exactly what is happening, but soft because there's technically an infinite amount of possibilities. An apocrypha of banned words, Trem, you genius. All right, okay. So, do you think we're all settled on this version of Fabled Recreation? It's 2 yeses. The streams can end up being Luke's magic system. Star. Luke the GOAT, Magic Tycoon. All right, we're calling it. Uh, what do you guys want to stick with? Fable Recreation, or do you have another name? Excuse me. Fable Recreation is kind of like a goated name. I'm not gonna lie. Trash, was this you? Were you the one who came up with Fable Recreation? I feel like it's not too fitting anymore, but it's super badass. It's pretty badass. Max, you came up with the name? Okay. It was Maxer. Maxer, you cooked. We get to. It's because you're opening a book, right? That'll count for Fable, right? Fabled Recreation. Actually. Frick! What happens if I hit title? Fable the Recreation. Bullet point. Okay. So let's come up with like a more or less one sentence or two sentence, just overall general definition of what Fable Recreation is. Right? There's a story to everything. True. And then just like the general thing, we don't have to go into like limitations, all that shit yet. Like an actual definition of what it does. Like, what does it do? Can also be limited by how the words in the margins are written. Like, people got pencils. If they get in trouble, they lose the pencil, something like that. I don't quite get what you're saying. Kind of want to throw a margin in there. Change your own story. This is only for... Okay. This is for inanimate objects, right? I think we've settled on inanimate objects. Because, like I said earlier, if we get into like people, we're going down a rabbit hole. Another rabbit hole. It becomes really soft, maybe. If it's real, it has rules, and I rewrite them. Forbidden to use it on people? Forbidden okay. We should make it harder to do with people. Like, harder to access their book, I guess. We'll get to that later. Okay, so just like a description of like what this is. We can say like an ability to I like ability. They have to consent. No, they don't. Ability to see the properties. How about it's possible, but you have to view people as inanimate objects? You have to objectify people in order to do it? Oh my gosh. What an idea. You cooked. You cooked with that. You cooked with that. Holy shit. That's a goated idea. That's not Luke, that's Samuel. That's Samuel. Women are screwed, the incels will rise. That means all of the bad guys are incels. Oh. Luke and Samuel? Wait, I didn't see what Luke said. I don't know if this is descriptive enough, but a 2-sentence descriptor could be when you scribble in the margins of a page, you alter what it says. What if you could do that to other objects? It just says ability to the properties. How about an ability to read read to alter the properties of an inanimate object by writing in the margins of, we should name the book. Okay, we should have a name for the book that comes out. Thoughts? That way to make this easier. Like soul book or something. Soul book? Is that stupid? That's stupid. Listen, you gotta get the stupid shit out of the way, okay? You gotta get the stupid shit out of the way so you can, like, yeah, I mean. And the margins of the objects the tail of. That might be good for, like, when you're referring to an individual object, but maybe not for like the general name for the book that all objects have. Catalog? That's too modern. That's too modern. We're also assuming that this takes place in a world that's like, what are we going for? Like medieval or some shit? Codex? Cooking. You're cooking. You're cooking, bro. You guys are cooking. Oh my god. Let's just say codex. A codex. Are you able to keep the book? No. Once you're done, the book goes back. You can't keep it. You make your alteration, and then it just goes back into the object. What do you guys think? But then if somebody else takes out the book, the codex, then your alterations are still there, right? Just sucks back in, yeah. What are the number of times an adjective is inscribed across all magic users in the universe? The less powerful it is, so you start to use a niche. Oh my god, dude! Oh my freaking god, dude! Luke, be dead ass with me, Luke. This is not the first time you've done this, bro. This is not the first time you've freaking done this. This is absolutely insane. Luke's a god at this, dude. Holy shit. And it's interesting because the margins aren't that big, so you don't have that much room to write. So you got to be really creative. I did a magic system once for a fiction writing class. Dude, Luke's good. Makes sense. Makes sense. And can people make up words? I think we can just say that a new word is created when it's become standard use of society. Maybe. The gods decide that. Once it's added to the Webster dictionary is when it becomes a word. uh spiritual book of properties that dwells within all objects and people and beings. It got to be in the dictionary. So if the word riz is like weak now, assuming if the word riz is written in like a bajillion books, then it becomes weak and the effect is not as strong or unlikely to happen, maybe? But based on how you view the object, the more you're able to change it. Like if you view it as much worse than you or more as an inanimate object, you're able to change it much more. Based on how you view the object, the more you view it as much worse than you or more as inanimate, you're able to change it more. Okay. See what you're saying. See what you're saying. I'm thinking on that. I'll keep thinking on that. I like that though. I definitely like where you're going. What if there's like a what if it's done by the church, okay? The church is the one who like houses the dictionary, and so they're always trying to get new words trending. Just imagine like a freaking priest or something is trying to get the new youngins to say a new word. And that's like the society. That's like societies. People just trying to get new slang to catch on. Okay. Okay. They have a number of uses recorded in their Bibles. Okay, so who can do this? Is this like we got to dial back in, okay? We got to dial back in and start from the top, okay? To make this concise. Is this like a genetic thing? Or is this like a learned ability? Who can do it and how do they write it? Somebody said something earlier about like specific ink. Maybe. Learned and or item based. So, okay. Should be taught from specific schools. I'm down for that. So not everyone has it. Okay. So we're all against the idea of genetic. This is not something you can inherit. Okay, let's just start writing shit down, and then I'll just rearrange it later. Learned ability to do this. What tool do we want to say? Do we want the pen itself to be the tool or the ink? I feel like the pen could be interesting because like if you say you like touch somebody with a pen or whatever, right? And then you can bring out their book. You're kind of like using it as like a magnetic stick, right? You stick them with it and then you pull it out, like touch it with it and it pulls out the book. Fancy ink. You need two. Fancy ink and pen. That might make it super exclusive. That means it's going to be super hard to get on the black market. That pen ink is probably going to be so goddamn expensive. What do you think would be more expensive? Probably the pen, right? Maybe. The more exclusive, the better for this. Okay. So you need the pen and ink. Fancy ink for higher level spells. Okay, we're gonna get into like a whole like level of like inks and pens. Special paper could also work. Well, no, because the the codex itself is the paper that's going to be being written on. You could have the sentient beings house the ink, and non-sentient beings house the books. Like some people suck the ink out of people to do more magic. You lost me. I'm confused now. My mind trained might be a better word than learned. Learned makes it sound like some isekai BS. So picture this like some kind of secret government kind of thing. How would I write that? Trained? So like in the hearts of people, there's this universal ink, and you touch the quill to them to draw it out. So we can have the ink come from people, and oh, I see. Okay, that's interesting. So use the pen, draw out the ink from a person, and then write it. Then you take the codex from an object, and use the ink from the person to alter the codex. Is that what you're saying? So Syracuse just got a fuck ton of ink on that black market. That's kind of dope. I'm down with Trem. Does this sound like a church thing? Like the evil church like fiddles with this? So illegal ink is made using a person's blood. It's like treated like illegal blood on the market, maybe. I was if you drink the ink, you have a stomach ache. You have a stomach ache. Nothing happens when you drink the ink. To try in the codex, you need. I'm just gonna say Spirit Ink for now, but we can change the name. That comes from that dwells within all living. No, I'll say all humans. I'll make it more interesting, I think. Sorry, like, what did you say? I don't remember. The pens are made using a specific tree. What if pens are made from True Blood? You're cooking. Are we all like? Are you guys down for this to be like an evil church thing? I kind of like the evil church thing, but it might be overused. It could be a secret society of magic users, like Men in Black with their tech, or maybe something like the Adjustment Bureau. Okay, we'll worry about that later. Did I hear my name? I don't think so. True Blood? Eepster heard True Blood. He's like, somebody call me. It's crazy, Eepster. I know you ran like that. Okay. The pen is from a unicorn's horn. Is that too classic? If that's too classic, I'll concede. Is that too classic? No, too classic. Okay, too classic. I agree. It's too classic. Cliche. Yeah, I know. Cliche. That was the first thing that came to mind. See, the key, I think, is you have to like get all the bad ideas out of the way. You know what I mean? Could be a bone pen also, like a rib cage or something. A single rib. We can make it like a sexist thing. like like how in Christianity the woman was made from the rib of man, right? I said sexist. And so, right? And so it has to be from the rib of a man, maybe? That could be very interesting because then we could have like a story about how that sexist dynamic is bad or some shit like that, you know what I mean? That could be interesting. But then men are always getting their ribs removed. Wait, men are always getting their ribs removed? That means they're freaking objects. Exactly true. Men, but it can only be one rib from every man. I would go with the magic tree branch, which is harvested once a year. A church cult ran by women, police. Sounds kind of hot now that I think about it. Crazy women. Fuck yeah. Men are endangered species. No, we're getting into harem territory. Back up, everybody, back up. We're getting into harem territory. Relax, Trev. Getting in the harem territory. No harems. You remove the rib from yourself, and you end up undergo a procedure to build your magic pen. And the procedures would be rare. I feel like that makes the pens a little too accessible. Even though, yeah, some people would. Yeah, I agree. Some people would not want to go through with it, but I feel like that still makes the pens a little not exclusive enough. If they have the rib removed, they can't use Sable Recreation. There's an idea. Then there's a black market for ribs. What do you guys think of that? We gotta redial in right now. Want to make it broad daylight? Is it self-taught? No, I don't think it's gonna be self-taught. I'm thinking through school. It's taught how to do this. Is taught through a school, some sort of school. All right, catch you later, Maxer. Thanks for hanging. Thank you for your ideas, your help. Thank you for the name. Goated name. Black market for body parts, so cliche. Just have dudes pulling out the ribs in the middle of Main Street. Okay, what about... I think there needs to be like some sort of qualification that would maybe let your rib fulfill the requirements to do this. Are schools just killing off the elderly? I don't even know. Okay, anyways. The alteration written in the margin must be done by I'll be real, personally, I find the rib thing a bit morbid, not my cup of tea. They had other procedures done and are actually killing off the elderly mages. RIP, my dogs. You had to have died first to have magic ribs. Wait, idea. Okay. So, let's say there was one pen, okay? One pen thousands of years ago gifted to you by the gods. Okay? Right? And we all agree that in this world, writing in people is forbidden magic. Okay? It's forbidden. Right? You're not allowed to mess with people, right? In this world. Right? But anyways, so when that God gave him the pen, somebody took the pen and altered somebody else's rib. Right? They altered somebody else's rib so where that rib works the same way as the pen they got from God. Right? And then eventually, they took out that rib, turned it into a pen, right? And they did it, a bunch of more times. There's some limit. I don't know. Maybe it takes a lot of like energy or bullshit, whatever, right? Right? And that's like the secret of the organization, whatever, right? Is that even though they outlawed it, in order to do it, they have to, in order to make more of these pens, they have to do exactly what they're saying not to do, which is alter people's ribs. Thoughts? Bone wands. I love me some hypocritical church. I'm saying. Pretty typical. God gave him a pen and they immediately altered God. Typical, but IMO not in a bad way. It feels kind of lacking. Okay, so they're either gunshots outside, or somebody's doing something. I don't know. I don't know. You hear gunshots every once in a while. This is America. The church should definitely be doing the people altering. I don't know if it should be where the pens come from, though. Okay. Okay, so do we still want to go with like a rib, or do we think we want the pen to be something else? We stray from rib. I'm kind of down for that, but I'm down for the church to be doing the people altering, because if the ink comes from people. If the ink comes from people, then you think that the pen should not come from people? The pen should. Okay. I'm down. That makes sense. Really pushing for based on the perception of the user as viewing themselves as an author makes a difference. Maybe. We could go mythical fantasy and have a bird. It be a bird feather or tree, or we could go techno magic and have it be a sonic screwdriver. I'm thinking we should go from like animal or tree. I'm thinking animal or tree, but then it just comes down to like, I feel like regardless of, unless we like invent a whole new creature, then like a quill. Unless we invent a whole new creature, it's going to be like we're edging closer to like classic fantasy. But I think that's okay here. Maybe like the feather. I kind of like the feather thing. Trees that have to be fed with blood. Trees that have to be fed with ink. The tree idea I had before, but the tree grew in the middle of a large battlefield, soaked in the blood of many men. Okay, you guys are on the same wavelength. You guys are on the same wavelength, so I'm down. High fantasy is awesome. High fantasy is my favorite. Let's make the creature. I have hundreds. I made like yesterday. I made a creature. I made like a bird. It's like a cross between like an albatross, a wingle, a kangaroo, and a wyvern. But like they're all like bits of pieces taken from it. A wingle from Pokemon. Wingle from Pokemon is where I started. Okay. I like by a pen made from, what did you say? A tree from a tree. Let's just say we'll call it a blood tree. Blood tree. Bloody Willow. I'm down. Is a willow tree is a specific type of tree, right? It's a shrub. They grow near water. But the blood part wouldn't be common knowledge. Maybe only to the church. Blood well. A willow tree soaked in the blood of thousands of men. How about that? Church idea is they want to publicize magic. I'm gonna make a campaign for the shrub. More Catholicism references. Willow shrub. We do a willow shrub. Are you gonna be able to make a pen out of it, though? I mean, this way it'll be smaller, right? The shrub will be smaller. What's the difference between a willow shrub versus a willow tree? Willows can be shrubs or trees depending on the species. Some willows are large shrubs, while others grow into medium or large trees. If we have the tree itself be smaller, then the number of pens they can make from it is fewer. And I think we want that, right? You know, we could also say that. I mean, we can just make a tree, right? We can just have a willow tree, but it'd be like a shrub version of it, right? Why the frick not? Why the frick not? This planet has a shrub version of a willow tree. Or the tree dies before full maturity. That's a good idea. Just one willow tree, but it supplies the whole world. You mean like that's one that's constantly growing and being cut off and people are just dying over it? could do a holy war over the tree. Every country has like 1 or 2 trees. If you have a creature that feeds on story / imagination / blood / hearts, it would make a cool creature that body could be used for stuff. Could be. Although I think we're set on this tree for this specific thing. We'll come back to that if we need to come back to that. We'll just do Will Tree for now. We'll just do this for now. Okay, then we'll go back and do some edits if we need to. But either way, we're getting into the lore. Okay, let's get into the specifics of how this works. Okay, let's dial back. Let's dial back. I know we're having fun, but let's dial back a little bit. Okay. Okay. Its blood provides rejuvenation, and the Pope has been youthful for far too long or something. The sap of the willow tree. Okay. Back to Fabled Recreation. Okay. So give me some examples of. Well, actually, hold on. Okay, yeah. Give me some examples of altering. Yes, trash. But why is the tree magical? Because when you kill somebody over it, their soul goes into the tree, and their soul energy gets infused into the tree. And when you have that done enough times, it becomes magical. I don't know. That literally just came off the top of my head. We don't have to figure out the why right now. We got to figure out the how first, and then the why. Drenched in true blood. Interesting. The holy war thing is going to be in my head. Okay. So let's just say examples of altering the properties of an object. So making a rock soft. Down. Making a rock soft. Making a sword sharper. You could have people from the church who go to the military and just start doing this on a bunch of swords or whatever to make the weapons better, and they don't have to take care of them as much. You know what I mean? Cost less materials. Are you guys liking the 2 chats? Could you make an object not exist? Oh my god, we're getting into some scary territory now. Let's just say no. That's in the Forbidden Tombs. It's forbidden. I'm racking up channel points so it can eventually make you bald again. You know what's crazy? I'm gonna buzz my head again the next like a month or two, just so I can like move, like you know how like your hairline like goes this way or whatever, right? So you have the long part and the short part. I'm trying to move that line between them down lower, so I'm gonna buzz my head soon anyway. But you guys are never gonna know because I'm be wearing my hat the whole time. Just kidding. I'll probably tell you. You could do bangs adjectives or some subset of them. Like what? Standard practice would be to draw ink from yourself so the schools are still on the right about teaching it. Verbatim rating practice would be drawing from cooking. It's gonna watch in 5 years. This is gonna be a book, and Luke's gonna have written it. Okay, let's just do. Somebody give me another example. Making skin smoother. Go set things on fire. Making water hotter. Changing size to a degree. Yeah, I'm down. We just have to be like, go crazy with the limitations. You know what I mean? I feel like setting things on fire. I feel like if you're going to set something on fire, then like there has to be like, it has to either be complex to do or it has to come at some cost to warrant that not being a go-to. Like an object 2D at the highest level. Yeah, I'll do it there. Oh no, wait, hold on. What is that even like? Like make it flat? Not like actually 2D, because I don't even. Is that even possible? Smoothness, roughness, size, temperature, softness / hardness. Those are probably going to be the biggest ones. The church wants to keep the world 3D. It's just try freaking out of here. Slippery. Reduce the. Friction is not a trait of an object, I think. Dry wet. Make the floor wet. Maybe? Okay, those are just some examples. Okay. We don't have to go crazy with the examples. Like just enough examples to where like you like get the idea. You know what I mean? Okay. Excuse me. Let's go into limitations real fast. Limitations are going to be what makes or breaks this magic system, okay? As they always are. I'm trying to think. That thing that Luke said earlier about, I guess the more times the more of the same word that you write in different objects, the less effective it becomes. We're going to get to that, Samuel. We're going to get to that. I was thinking about that too. What the frick was I saying? I feel like I'm trying to figure out how that would work. Like, I'm imagining, like, say a priest or something from the church goes to the military and he's just making a bunch of swords sharp or whatever, right? Would that reduce the effectiveness of the word, making basically each time he does it just a little bit less sharp? Maybe. And if you did it too many times, right, then you could open the books and start erasing and then add them onto different swords and different codexes. Like the word loses its meaning as it's repeated. Yeah. The word loses, its effectiveness. Maybe not meaning. But you use the word sharpness too many times, and all of a sudden it's going to get to the point where it's not as sharp. It's not sharp at all. There's like a well of power in the universe, and each time the same word is used, it's a drain on the well. Let's just say the more the same word is repeated on different or the same codexes, the less effective the word command will be. How about that? Word/command. The more the... How about exact? Is word command/command? There's a finite amount of space to fit word inscriptions on. So basically, descriptor, cooking. We'll just do descriptor for now. To fit inscriptions on. Let's just say inscriptions on codexes can be erased. On codex margins. Inscriptions and codex margins can be erased. So basically common words are useless since they will inevitably have been used exceeding the usable number. Yes. Or I think, how about this? The church can go in and manually, they keep a record of everything they've done, right? And they can go in and manually erase things, right? To free up uses of that word. Are you guys cool with that? What do you think of that? So while spamming sharpness on a codex works, it becomes weaker overall. Yes, and it weakens the effectiveness of writing sharpness on other codexes. Oh, interesting. Wait. I don't know if it weakens, it does the opposite. I think it just weakens the effectiveness of the word. There should be some access to information on how much the word has been used if it's going to be a limitation. Yeah, we'll just say the church keeps a record. They're very meticulous about making sure they are aware of everything that's been written down. Can the head of a church guys use the word infinitely, but they need a lot of true blood to keep it up? How about the amount? I don't think so. What if the record gets stolen or lost? Then you're fucked. The church keeps it close because it is very important. Limited amount of ink in one moment is an easy one. How about, let's say the ink can't be stored. Thoughts on that? You can use the word infinitely, it just isn't as useful. Yeah, basically. Ink cannot be stored. Thoughts? How do you transport it? It's inside you. Actually, yes, it can. But it's taboo to store it. How about that? But you draw from a space of your own. Yeah, you taboo but possible. Ink is stored only in the heart. That's what I'm thinking. Ink is stored there. So, okay, hold on. Let's real fast. Shit. The codex can be drawn out by touching the object with the pen made with the pen. The pen. Should I write that somewhere else? Let's write this somewhere else. We gotta get a pen name. The Willow Pen. Thoughts? What's Luke saying? Like if you steal ink from others, you store it in yourself, but if you overflow your heart's ink, it shows physically. Cooking. Luke's just out here, bro. Luke's just out here. What do you think about Willow Pen? A Willow Pen sounds cute, you know what I mean? So wouldn't that get confusing? Alright, we'll do Blood Pen for now. We'll do Blood Pen for now. If you guys got any names, I'll change it. You need ink that's made of true blood. The true blood can be drawn out of a person by touching their heart it's just where their heart with the blood pen. How about, let's say the blood pen can be dipped. The blood pen can be dipped in the ink by touching the. Never mind. Come on, crazy. Um, Bleeding Willow Pen. BWP. Holy Reed. Bleeding Willow Pen. It's too long. Blood Park supposed to be for Benaj? You're freaking right. I mean, is it? Oh, yeah, true. You're right. Crying Pen? The Holy Scribbler. Thoughts? We'll just say Holy Reed. Not the Scribbler? You don't want a Scribbler? My fave crayon. God's crayon. It's not that holy. It is now. Holy Scribbler might be the most holy name I've ever heard in my entire life. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Casters are called scribes. They're gonna be called scribes. They're absolutely gonna be called scribes. You guys ever read a book called Foundryside? Luke, you ever read Foundryside? This is like kind of. I'm realizing this is kind of similar to Foundryside's magic system, like a little bit, except more limited. It's different, but like similar. What's Foundryside? Foundryside, it's like, think of it kind of like magic programming, where you can carve. There's like this really old like language of symbols or whatever, right? And so these symbols are their own language, and so you carve certain symbols into objects, and say there's like a symbol for soft. You could carve this soft symbol into an object, and it'll make the object soft, right? You can. So they do all these things. They're whole ass definitions that they write into objects and completely change their properties and how reality interacts with them. And there is you can do this thing where you can create a brand new symbol, right? And then attach that to a definition of other symbols, using like non-made up ones, and that'll be like a definition. So you can use that one symbol that you made up to mean this entire thing that's probably sentences and sentences and sentences long, and then you can just stack symbols on symbols and change how the object acts with reality. You would like it. This is similar, but not. It's like it's similar. It's similar, but different. Different. What happens if you make an object impossible? What does a pen look like? Is it a normal pen, or is there a bit of creative freedom with each person's? I think the artisan can make it how they want, right? As long as it's made. They refer to Fable recreation as auditing. That's kind of dope. The Time language in the Owl House. Am I gonna find anything about the magic here? It doesn't look like it. Unlucky. Oh, this is a show. The last season had 3 episodes. Glyph set in magic. Yeah, I guess it's kind of like that. You should read Foundry Side. You would like it. Can a person's ribcage change how the pen works? We're going back to the ribcage. Okay. All right. We can dial back in. Dial back in. Okay. Limitations. Was there a limitation that I did not read? The ink limit. Only as far as names go, though, I think it'd be fun to make a new word like scribulous or something. I'm down. We can do that. We can do that at the end, though. You only have... Oh, yeah, the ink limit. Make the scribes instead of scribblers. Scribblers is lit! Can you take the ink back out of objects that have been written? No, let's just say no. You cannot the ink out of objects that have already been written. But you can erase the inscriptions. One word at a time. Can you break a codex? What if you erase inscriptions by tearing out that part of the codex? So the more you remove, the harder it is to add. But wouldn't that distort the properties of the object? Interesting. Then if you want to revoke a word, you have to cross it out of the codex. I like that. Can be crossed out. Can I take the ink out of objects? That's probably good enough. This part is unnecessary. If a word is invalid, should it just not work? I'm thinking it just doesn't work. Thoughts? What if you literally scribble in the codex? Nothing happens. Someone draws a smiley face in the codex and makes the rock happy. That'd be cute. You can take some from other people, but if you do too much, it'll frick you up. Think? So if you get a word wrong and it doesn't do anything, then you're wasting margin space. Oh, SpaghettiOs. Humans cannot be altered unless certain prerequisites are met. I'm down. What do you want those prerequisites to be? And the church doesn't like it when you waste your precious margin space. True, the church does not. But it is necessary in order to figure out which words work on what and which words don't work. I feel like we don't, in terms of like building this magic system, like the general of what it is, I feel like we don't need to get into like specifics on this works on this object, this work doesn't work on this object. Oh, you're right. Blood mood consent to audit cannot be forced. You can't have benefits for misogyny here. I mean, it's a benefit in the magic system, but it could help tell a good story that's anti-objectification. You know what I mean? Is this are we risking this? Is this too risky? As long as the other's fully aware and he's just gonna make a point that makes sense. Yeah. No humans. The objects get the codexes, and the humans get the ink. I like that. I like how you can't have one without the other. A high and mighty guard that views everything and everyone beneath him and is able to audit everything because his ego grows is a good villain. I agree. Completely agree. Well, what do you think about this? I feel like this gets in the way of the villain. You know what I mean? If this is the requirement to alter people, I feel like the no ink left might, but it might be a good thing. That way the villain doesn't go like on a rampage. You know what I mean? It makes the villain not too powerful. Maybe? Just take the ink from them so it's fine. You can take ink away from people. You can take ink away from people. Oh, you're right. Oh yeah, no, you can. It's just taboo. Remember, blood would be a better option though. I don't know, but they would notice if you're taking the ink away. That seems like a fair. Maybe would that be a fair? That'd be fair. You can take ink, but if they have more than you can hold, you're screwed. Oh yeah. Let's just where the frick do we put that here? We'll just do. Just say you can take ink away from. Wait, where's the ink thing? Oh, I'll put it up there. Can take ink from away from other people. Limitation. Yeah, so if you're good, then it'd be consent to take the ink, right? Limitation taken away. You if you store more ink than you can hold, what happens? If you try to, if in your little inkwell inside your heart, if you try to store more in there from other people than you can hold, what happens? GG's, you just die. Luke brought up the veins getting black. Overflowed inkwell comes out of the veins. Basically, you cry blood. And blood starts oozing from your skin. Like the ink. The ink starts coming out of your eyes, coming out of your skin, through your pores. You blow up at a Willow's planted? Interesting. And then the church comes and takes the willow. No, it's too many willows. That'd be too many willows, wouldn't it? Maybe? No way. The willow required a lot more sacrifices to make one. That is true. We did say that. We already established willows, unless we want to change that. Thank God I have some water. You could say a seed is planted. Ink creeps through your skin and starts to become the root system of a willow tree. It becomes okay. Yeah. Okay. Wait. You're right. It becomes a specific willow tree, but the willow tree doesn't turn. You become a willow tree, but the willow tree doesn't take. You know what I mean? You can't make a pen out of it until all of the blood is on it, right? You just get the tree, but not the effects that come after the tree. Thoughts? That like eventually happens, right? But you start bleeding, and if you don't get rid of it, and if you keep the overflow too long, or you have too much, then you become the tree. Does that mean you don't see them as human? It means you don't see them as human. You see them as objects. We'll just say objects. What if you slowly become a willow tree in an irreversible flow? And all the willows have the face of a human they once were engraved in their trunk? Oh, you're cooking, Trim. The main villain is trying to reverse the process. Interesting. I like that. Willification should be irreversible, but it can be halted if you give up the excess blood. Yeah, it'll just take a lot. It'll just take longer, significantly longer. So anyone seen trying to use it is seen as a threat. Cook it. We'll just say. Okay, hold on. Let's just say you start bleeding. Right? And then if you don't get rid of it within a certain amount of time, then willification starts. How about that? Maybe? Or do you just want to do it? So how much excess can we hold? You know what I mean? Like, do we want to make it Do we want to make it easy to willify? The process is reversible before a certain point. I like that. I don't want to make the willification too easy. If you need a power boost, it has to be very temporary. You know what I mean? Perfect. The ink will start let's say the excess. If you can't take the ink out of stuff, how would you be storing more than you can hold? From people. From other people. You can take ink out of people. Maybe the roots start growing from your heart, and if it reaches the base of your foot, it shoots a vine into the ground, rooting you. No, I still want people... How long would it take for that to happen? To get to that point? Scribes are trained to hold ink for 3 audits. Or something, but in reality you can hold more, but how much you can hold isn't well researched / defined. Yeah, down for that. I'm thinking that too, Donut. Your life extends, but you eventually become a willow tree at the end of your life, like an elf. That's a thing in some some works of fiction, right? Elves eventually become trees or something like that. You're holding too much, you leak and start to willify, but when you drop the excess, the leaking goes away. But the willify stops, but it doesn't get reversed, just paused. I think how willification pause when you aren't overflowing is a good way to slow it down. I agree. How about this? Your normal blood dripping from your eyes. That way you still have the ink in you, because I don't want excess ink coming out of your body, because then you get rid of the excess, right? Which we don't want, which solves the problem, right? So you'll just start bleeding like crazy, and then excess makes you anemic. You anemic. You can stop this by getting rid of the excess ink. If you've gone a certain amount of time, we'll figure out. Hold on. I'm just gonna write this down so I have like an idea. Your veins would be visible from how about that? if you have a better way to word that, let me know. If you got in a certain amount of time without getting rid of the excess ink, you begin the irreversible process of becoming a willow tree. All right, thoughts? Um, Willowification extends your lifespan, but inevitably leads to you becoming a tree. And it hurts. Constant pain. There's got to be a punishment, because then you just get to live longer, and you're chilling. Because the willification is a punishment, right? Maybe, right? So we don't want you to just become older and then eventually become a tree, whatever. Where's the punishment? You know what I mean? So what do you guys think? It's a pain that starts out not bad, but by the time you're at the point where you are now a full tree, like, this shit hurts. You know what I mean? You've gone crazy over the pain, and now you've basically just lost your mind. We can say that, I don't know, the it could be stigmatized by the church too. Becoming a willow tree is bad? You mean? The willification? Willification is forbidden. Because the church does it. And then they do it the church does it in a controlled environment, constantly giving painkillers to the people growing as trees. Just drugging them up. Thoughts? Or just keeping them sedated. We've really expanded the lore more than the actual more than the magic system itself. Should I work on this, guys? Should I turn this into a story? If I turn this into a story, it would probably be like, it would take a minute. Take a fat minute to get to. Is it more than physically painful as well? Something like the growth of the willow tree corrupts your codex, but people don't have codexes. Just objects. I feel like all my suggestions have been more lore based than technical. Well, at the same time, like, the lore explanations are kind of like how we get. They go back and forth, right? We get too technical from lore, and then we get too lore from technical. So it's back and forth. There's something else I was going to write, but I can't remember what it was. You've gotten a certain amount of time without getting rid of excess ink. You begin the irreversible process of becoming willow. Vilification extends your lifespan, but it inevitably leads you to becoming a tree, and it hurts. Constant pain that slowly increases over the years until you go mad. Yeah, how are we halting that? Well, just it can be halted temporarily. Could maybe be stopped completely. haven't decided how that happens. By clearing the excess? Get halted? How about by clearing all ink? By being completely inkless. So if you're a willow tree and you want the willification to stop, if you want the vilification to stop, you're not allowed to have any ink within you at all. Right? It's too late by that point. But by the time the vilification stops, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I lost my train of thought. Magic system is pretty much self-explanatory. Turn paper planes into paper birds that explode on impact. Art is an explosion. Because then he's more susceptible to being getting altered. True. And then that's like the reveal. That's the reveal at the end. Is that to stop you from vilifying, right? Somebody else has to write it out. But that's like the discovery at the end. But will the church have gone that many years, gone such a long time without figuring that out before a character does it? No, probably not. Never mind. Forget it. The willow tree inside you keeps growing as it feeds on excess ink. There's no way to reverse it, but you can stop the growth by venting ink. That's part of the forbidden knowledge, and they just don't want to. Oh, you're right. You're right. They just don't. They don't want you to figure that out. They don't want anybody to figure that out. Right? Because they want to use the willows. Oh, you're right. Cooking. I cooked, and then I doubted myself, and then Trem freaking cooked. Because no more willows means no more pens. You're cooking. You're cooking. You're cooking. That way, the willow has nothing to feed on. We'll just say you can't stop it. There's no way to temporarily. There's no way to permanently reverse the willification. I already said irreversible, but I'll just put that there anyway. You could have like the big church hats hiding tree branches. What do you mean? So the core of this is that you always produce ink, right? So what if you somehow stopped your heart or whatever that produces the ink from producing the ink? I don't think so. I mean, maybe if we took like a few more hours, we could, if we really like focused on the lore. But I think it's just every morning, like they get rid of it. They just get rid of it throughout the day, and then every morning they just get rid of it. They write something somewhere and just get rid of it. Every single morning, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it. That way they don't have it. You only produce ink in your sleep. Interesting. You produce ink, but you can only store a certain amount. So once you hit that maximum threshold, you're not going to produce anymore because you're at your limit. You have to have the blood though, right? I inked in my sleep. So there's your blood, and then it's called True Blood, which is, we call it True Blood, I think. Isn't True Blood the name of a show? But True Blood, it's like the blood of your soul, I guess, or whatever. It's in your heart, but it can be drawn out by touching a pen to your heart. But touching a holy reed to your heart, you pull it out, right? So it's separate from your normal blood. It dwells within all humans. It's only a certain amount. It's True Blood that is the ink. So we're calling it ink, but it's called True Blood. But I like calling it ink. There should be a punishment for having no ink. The punishment is that you can be altered. Right? Humans cannot be altered unless certain prerequisites are met. They have no ink. You can be altered by someone else. Does everyone have an inkwell then? Everyone has an inkwell. But not everybody has a pen. The pens are super rare. But the inkwell is useless if you don't know how to use it, and you can use it. So it's still super exclusive. True Blood could be sanguine or sanguine. Is that just a made up word? I kind of like sanguine though. It's Latin. Oh. I like it. So common folk are immune to being altered. Only scribes are vulnerable to being audited if they're careless. Yes. I think. Unless you want to steal the ink from them and alter them. Yeah. If you're willing to, in this world, if you're willing to steal the ink from somebody, you often don't see them as a real person. You see them as like an ant. You know what I mean? That also runs into issues if you constantly generate ink. Let's say but if pens are rare, then someone without one can't vent their daily excess. And you're right. They can't. No. So once you hit your maximum amount you can store, your body doesn't produce anymore. Until the body doesn't go over. I should probably write that. So you don't produce more than that by yourself. Yeah. Body produces only the maximum it can store, then stops. Once that storage is full. Genetic component where some people have deeper inkwells than other. Yeah, there can be. You can go magical eugenics route where people try to breed for maximum inkage. Determined at birth. I do think there's some form, like a little bit of genetics is like fun. You know what I mean? It makes something interesting. All right. Do we have any abilities or limitations we want to add? Eugenics throughout here. What can I say? I think there's one race, and that race should be superior. I'm cooked. Okay, the twit longer right now. Pens can or can't be broken. I think it can be broken. I'd say pens are just fragile as normal pens. Thoughts? Pens are as fragile as normal pens. Can you access the codex of the pens? Good question. Interesting. I was thinking about that earlier too. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that because then they're just gonna start breaking pens to make room. I think even the pens are rare, right? I'm down for that. No, it's over. What can I say? I think there's one race, and that race should be superior. What can I say? Yeah, it's the human race. It's the human race. Only the original pen is unbreakable. Does the later words reduce the effectiveness of the first words? Yes. No. No. I'm going to say no. We're talking we're talking like I don't know. I don't know, Trim. The normal I don't know. I don't know. The power is reduced across all instances of the word. Okay, I'm done. I was fine either way. The pens we were talking about is basically just stick with the pointy end for writing. Yeah, there's artistic freedom in how the person who carves the pen from the wood, the design of it, the artisan gets to design it. I mean, maybe they don't. Maybe the church has like a standard setting, but maybe in some other country, there is no standard, right? If someone has a powerful word, they keep it hidden so others don't use it and reduce their power. Yes. Yes. They do. Dictionaries are a controlled substance. Yeah. Yes. Yes. You're cooking. You're cooking. Literacy is not recommended for the average person, unless who learns to read and write is controlled by the state, so the church in this instance, in this country. All right, so we have a lot of lore, but I didn't write the lore down. We have the technicalities, how the magic system works. Common folk cannot be reading. They cannot They cannot have a thesaurus in this world. They talk very basic. Education is only recommended to the people that the church likes. All right, is this what we got? Is this what we got? I can share the... I'll share the document with you guys in Discord if you guys want. I'll put it in... I'll put it in the thing. I'll put it in content announcements. How does the common understanding of words change their meaning in the codex? Because I'm remembering that postmodernism is a thing. I think that as words change, then their meanings change. As words' meanings change in society, the meanings of the inscriptions change. I'm gonna write that down. As societal definitions of words change, so do their effects in inscriptions. So if you mostly wanted to use dead languages for the codex then, since those don't change in common understanding, that'd be a good idea. I think that'd be a good idea. That'd be smart. What if it's possible to take it to the next level and change events? I don't know. The church controls the dictionary, right? So to the church, it wouldn't matter if a word's meaning changes unless it suits their goals. Wait. I mean, they control the dictionary, but I feel like the church would try to influence society and change words' meanings. Change how society views that meaning of the word. That way they can use it. Maybe that's how the MC decides to travel around to find new languages. You're cooking? Loophole. Militaristic enforcement of word usage. You can get imprisoned for using words wrong. Cooking. Dinner. Cooking. All right. So what do you guys think? In terms of like the actual magic system itself. In terms of the magic system itself, not so much the lore, which we can stay here forever, for hours and hours and hours and hours, for days upon days, figuring out lore. Are you guys happy? You guys like the magic system we've made from the word margin? I think we cooked hell up, but mostly Luke carried. Luke. Kahlo. I mean, you all carry. You all contributed hella. I'm not gonna lie. Luke definitely went off. I'm not gonna lie. Luke went off for sure. Could the tree also be like a final form as you can control the willow? No, you die. You're dead when you become the tree. So this is basically how that's how it goes. You loosely define it, right? And then you limit it, which inevitably makes this more specific, right? Willow is a demon. You do not control it. You're dead, but the tree's alive. You become a different being. Your soul is dead. Do trees have souls? I don't know. I don't know. It's the death of your identity. Cook. Cook. All right. You guys have fun? Would you guys want to do this again? They talk to each other, so this is paper road ones. I think I know what you're talking about. Villain found a way to control his Willow. Maybe. Maybe he's like trying to stop his willification. Because it hurts too much. It was hella fun. I wonder what word we're going to get next time, gamers. I wonder what word we're going to get next time. I was a little worried about like... I guess it's not story magic. It's just... auditing. I'm glad it showed up my YouTube recommendation feed. A YouTube recommendation goat. If you like Cool Magic System, I'm literally begging you to watch it. I'm gonna watch it. I completely forgot about it. I will watch it. I promise you, that will be watched. Luke, you should read a book called Foundry Side. It's a high fantasy. You would like it. All of you guys should read it. If you guys read Foundry Side, you'll find it's like kind of similar to this. We made it our own thing, so it's like it's now like very different, but it's still like there is definitely some similarities that you guys would probably like. I'll put it in here too. I think it's by like Matt Bennett. Matt? I forget what's his name. Robert Jackson Bennett. Yeah. It was awesome. I'm glad you guys liked it. I'm so glad you guys had fun. I'm so glad that you guys like this is what I like to do in like my free time. Sometimes I'll just do it in my head. Sometimes a lot of the time I'll do it when I'm just laying in my bed and it's dark at night and I'll think of a random word. And I only one other time I actually wrote it down. But I'm glad you guys like this because I love magic systems so much. If you go to like, listen guys, if you go to r/fantasy subreddit, all they do is freaking dog on hard magic systems. Like there's such a bunch of bums over there. If you guys haven't joined the magic building subreddit, you should. It's lit. Except people are always doing like classic magic systems. They're always doing like runes and you know your elemental shit. And you know all that like classic, like basic necromancy, anything with the word antsy at the end of it. You know what I mean? That's what they always do over there. But every once in a while you find a gem. But like nobody, like a lot of people that, otherwise it's cool. will forever be the only good elemental magic system. It will. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Yeah. They'll be like hot take, but hard magic systems are boring. Or hard magic systems take the fun out of it. Boring. They suck. Like it reduces like the wonder. I'm like, frick the wonder, bro. The wonder can suck my dick. The wonder of magic. Like magic turns into a science. Damn fucking right it does. But I feel like we had a good balance. We have a good balance of like of soft and hard. The hard really comes down to the limitations, I feel like. But we definitely have a good balance, I feel like. Magic has to have rules so that you can find fun ways to bend them. You just get it. And it's so fun, the audience trying to figure out how the loopholes or whatever. That's why D&D is good. D&D is fun. What are your thoughts on science so advanced it's basically magic? I'm okay with it. It's not gonna stop me from reading a book. It's not like my favorite. I'm not like, yeah. But it feels like science so advanced that it's basically magic is basically like the same as like freaking Gandalf. Unless, have you guys seen World Trigger? Guys, if you want one of like the goated like science hard magic systems in anime, yo, check out World Trigger. It's so good. If you like hard magic systems, World Trigger is your go. More than Hunter x Hunter. World Trigger's an anime though, or anime manga. It's pretty long. It's got like 100 episodes or something. But it's so hard magic and it's so freaking goated. They only have like a set number of like tools they can use. You guys would love it. If you guys like hard magic systems, you'll freaking love World Trigger. One of Suisei's favorite series. That's why Suisei's my girl. She's got too many go to recs. It's true. Don't gas me up like that. Gotta make an ultimate recommendation list. Maybe. I'd probably not. All right, guys. I'm glad you had fun. His girl this week, that's Kat. Doncho, my first. Besides Otto. Otto's on a whole nother level, okay? Doncho's my VTuber first. Okay, anyways. Thanks for hanging, guys. I'm glad you had fun. I had a lot of fun. We'll definitely do this again. But we'll make this like an event. You know what I mean? It won't be like a once a week. Maybe like once every 2 months, 3 months or something. You know, something we all have to like really look forward to. Us nerds. Science Magic was like Princess Bubblegum. World building week is fun. You know, maybe we should have a day where we just build the planet. You know what I mean? And by build the planet, I mean, you know, is it a water planet? Is it an ice planet? You know, what's the culture like on that planet? Something like that. Maybe we should just have the whole thing. You know what? Maybe the next stream should be building out the setting that this takes place in. But then it might not be as like, welcoming to newer people if they haven't already seen this stream. So maybe not. Maybe not. Because then the prerequisites for understanding what's going on are going to make it like tougher. You know what I'm saying? This game can help you that. It's called Universe Sandbox. It's awesome. Wait, send that to me. I'm gonna take a look at that. All right. We should still do it. Maybe we will. We'll see. All right. Have a good one, guys. I love you all. Thank you for hanging out. I had fun. I'm glad you guys went along with my nerd decision. We're cooler than the non-nerds. I think for the system pretty good. Might be better to have a setting less revealed to the audience. Yeah, you're probably right. But we're not the audience. We're the writers. All right, pieces.